Hey folks, welcome to Breakdown, the Poet and the Poems, a show where a poet helps us to break down poetry as inspiration and motivation for our everyday lives. I am your host, Tamara J. Madison, and I am ecstatic to bring to you poet Bonita Lee Penn discussing her book, Every Morning, A Foot is Looking for My Neck. Exactly, that's what I said. Every morning, a foot is looking for my neck. That is the title of her book. She will be sharing it with us along with all kinds of wisdom and inspiration. So I hope that you'll join us. You know how we do. Grab your snack, your tea, your coffee, whatever you need, and join us for this powerful, powerful, fiery episode of Breakdown. All right. Welcome, 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 welcome. Look at her. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Bonita Lee Penn, for being a guest on the Breakdown. Thank you for coming and giving us some of your time and energy. How are you?
I'm doing great, Tamara. I'm doing great, and I'm honored to be here.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. We are here. I want to jump right in because I don't want to keep you too long and I don't want to keep the audience too long. We are here to discuss your book, Every Morning, A Foot is Looking for My Neck.
Yeah.
Okay. So normally what I do is I immediately jump into a description about the book. I share my description about the book, and then we're going to go into some of your poems. Okay.
Okay.
I want to show it to people first. Look at that. It is
Love
such
that cover.
I do. I love that cover too. At the beginning, there is an introduction written by Enzo Cylon Surin. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And in his introduction, I want to read just the first part of it because I thought it was a perfect description. Sometimes the cadence of our experiences cannot be expressed with traditional language and must find a pace and rhythm that bellows what the mouth cannot. So, for those of you who are watching, that is the official opening of the description of the book. And then I always like to share with the poet my own blurb for the book, right? And I challenge myself every time I read a poetry book to find a way to capsulize it. So if I want to tell somebody else about it, what would I say? So this is what I have to say, or the blurb for your book. You ready?
I'm ready.
I always get so excited about this part. Okay. In every morning, a foot is looking for my neck with aching intimacy. Bonita Lee Penn dares to speak the unspeakable among, about earth-toned women. Fear, vulnerability, loneliness, depression, and utter exhaustion. She challenges us to remember and reclaim who we are in a world that desperately endeavors to make us forget that, quote, we are the earth's core, end quote.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you.
So I always tell people, that for me is not a statement of flattery. When I blurb a book, it's not flattery. It's always the journey that the book takes me on, right?
Right.
So I'm letting all the folks out there who are going to watch this, tape or anything. This is not an easy journey. This is not anything to entertain you, so to speak, right?
Right.
So let's start immediately with your title, right?
Right.
Every morning, a foot is looking for my neck.
Right. Um, now, now I know a lot of people are using that like nowadays, like in 2020, but we have been using that phrase since I was a teenager.
Mhm.
It's nothing new. So when I wrote the poem and I wrote, the title of the poem, it had no connection to how people were just now using it. It's something that I remember how we were living, back when I was a teenager, how our parents were living, how they were, they were always like going to work, but still there was that foot on their neck every time they tried to do better. No matter what they tried to do for you, there was always something or someone trying to stop them from being better, or someone who had some sort of, they're jealous that we are doing well, that we are taking care of our family. And for some reason, people feel as though we Black people are not supposed to take care of our family. So, every time you turn around, somebody got a foot on your neck. My dad worked at the steel mill. And he said that when he worked at the mill, all the Black guys had the worst jobs, the most dangerous jobs. And they had to fight to get better jobs. And they had a basketball league. Of course, it was mostly Black guys on the league. And so while they were on the league, they were winning trophies for, J&L, they were winning trophies for the organization, but they still had the worst jobs. And my dad said, you know what, we're not going to play basketball anymore. And they stopped playing basketball. And for some reason, I guess the winning of the basketball meant something to the, management. So, they started giving them somewhat better jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Had a long way to go. So, the foot has always been on our neck, no matter how good we were doing or how bad we were doing. It's just something that they just keep wanting to stop us. But, it doesn't stop us. So.
Mm-hmm. It's like drawing a line. I wouldn't say to keep us from being better. I would say to keep us from progressing. Okay. Right? Because we have our own ways of doing better, getting better, regardless of that foot. You know what I'm talking about.
That is right? True. That is
but
true.
But that thing of keeping us from progressing, when we're going to give you this much, but we're not going to let you get this far, right? We're going to let you have this right here, but you're not going to get to touch this over here, right?
Right.
So that idea of oppression and limitation and boundaries that's always controlled by somebody else. So would you start with that poem for me? Even though it's not the first in the book, that was the first one I wanted us to start with.
All right, here we go. Roll porcupine tight, squeeze in between tight, out of the way spaces, disappear. Told us to carry the burdens, nasty, dirty, big booty, blackened races, big hips, bitter, feminist, revolutionist, pissed poet, shadow of an evil-eyed animal, not woman enough to be loved, a wife, never a good mother, one of those uppity, mixed up bitches, one of those too educated motherfuckers. Ignore her, screw her, throw her away. Shove her in a dark corner, evict her from her own box, bury her, silence her, erase her humanity, and stain exotic porno postcards dressed in veils, hijabs, or bananas. The world yells and tells us to be a chameleon, to blend, to press ourselves into the recesses, into the shadows of our own skin, to lay low, to be silent, to shrink, disappear.
Okay. So from the hijab to the bananas, right? For people who may not know the reference to bananas, to me, when I read that, I immediately thought of Josephine Baker.
Right, right.
An international phenom, who still had to deal with a foot on her neck.
Right.
That piece for me spoke about women all around the world who are speaking up for themselves, for other women, for humanity in general, who are told, okay, we're going to let you get this far, but you can't say this. You can do this right here, but you can't do that type of thing, right? So it's interesting to me that that is the title of the book. And it contrasts with the beauty and the power of that cover. In the cover, look at this, right? In the cover, you have this beautiful woman, and her eyes and her mouth and her face is looking upward.
Right, she
The
is.
title is That Foot on My Neck. And that's a very, very interesting contrast that we see from the very beginning, because it could have been a cover where a woman was with her head bowed, and this woman's head is not bowed. And I have to say that there's no bowing down at all in the book. That is not what Bonita Penn does, not at all. So the first question I have for you, why did you write this book? Why did you feel the need to publish it?
Well, these poems come from a collection of poems I have been working on. Now, Enzo had contacted me and said he was looking to publish a chapbook of, Black woman poet. And he was looking for poems that had to do with how we deal with being in a oppressed state, within and outside of our community. And of course, I thought that every poem that I wrote, was that same thing. But I sent him like about 30 poems, and these are the ones that he picked that he felt really, meshed together. And they spoke of the oppression that we deal with every day as a woman, as just a woman walking down the street, a mother, just a regular person. And so these are the poems that came to part. And most of the poems, I like to think that they are like the regular people, the regular Black woman, because I'm a regular Black woman. There's nothing special about me that I'm a celebrity or anything, but I live the same thing that everybody lives. I may not experience everything that everybody has experienced, or even some of the things that I have in this chapbook may be from someone I know experienced it, or from what I have seen with my own eyes. But it's like the Black woman's voice needs to be heard. It's like we're not heard. We're heard like, oh, that's nice. Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure that that's not what they meant. I'm sure that, you'll do better next time. We're not heard. It's like we are here. We demand to be heard. We are people, we have rights, we have power. And this is what I think most of the poems, have a little bit to say. Yeah.
So that's the thing that's always so interesting. When certain people exert their power, it's considered to be normal and just that power.
Right.
But when other people exert their power, it's
Mhm.
considered to be confrontation or conflictual or a problem, or, you're not being assertive, you're being a bitch, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you're unappreciative and that type of thing. And
Yes.
so, but I think that's the beauty of it to me. There are some women, for various reasons, who have lost their voices, or who have severed tongues, and they're talking all the time, but their tongues are severed,
Right.
or who have been silenced in all kinds of ways. And I think it's a very special thing when a poet decides to speak the things that are unspoken, or that others cannot speak, or that others cannot articulate in such a way, right?
Right. Yes. Because there comes
So,
a time, there comes a time where you're you see people suffering and
mhm.
want to say anything because something worse may happen. And sometimes you just get tired. It's just like, somebody need to say something, because I'm sick and tired of it. It's not right. We deserve better. So, some of my poems will slap that out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to move to obituary, May's obituary in 2016. And while you're pulling up that poem, I want to mention to anybody who may be watching that there's a note in the back that makes it very clear that this poem is not at all fiction, that it is based on actual statistics of murders and crimes in May of 2016. And I want to say thank you for putting that in there so people know that this
Right.
is the real. And this is probably, I guess, maybe the most harsh extent of the foot on the neck. Would you read that one for us, please?
Okay. This is like the first time I'm reading it too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like in public, I mean, I've read it to myself, but I've never like done it at a reading.
Okay, I'm honored. Thank you.
Okay. May's obituary in 2016. It opens with an epigraph of Martin Luther King Jr. The greatest purveyor of violence on earth is my own government. May obituary lists the names of Black bodies. Hallowed be their names. Numerous names, naming names, hand-me-down names, no order names, no reason names. Michelle, Bruce, Talif, Deborah, Corin, Norman, Joyce, India, Keisha, Mark, LeVar, Shala, Mania, Terrell, Kwan, Antoine. What names do we give our dead? Beloved, proud, devoted. In the name of the fathers, the names of our brothers, in the names of our sisters, the names, the mothers, of the names burnt on their backs, nigger, criminal, person of interest, suspect, person of interest, terrorist. Black bodies left dead on the streets of Cleveland, Tampa, Brooklyn, Oakland, Dallas, Ferguson, Las Vegas, Morgantown, Rock Island, Tucson, Jacksonville, Houston. Most livable cities paved with dead Black bodies, scent of decayed bodies like those of long summer days. Landover, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, East Boga, Indianapolis, Lansing, Miami, Flagstaff. The names transportable, dead Black bodies found in every city. Ollie Brooks, Jabril Robinson, Jessica Williams, Arthur Williams Jr., Matthew Tucker, O.C. Caleb, Dennis Hudson, Jabari Robinson, Deshira Armstrong. Age at time of death, a combination of dice rolls, snake eyes, game over, Black bodies never too young or old to be dead, die. 12, 18, 56, 23, 33. How old they is? 70, 38, 53, 32, 25. Bullets don't see an age. 58, 59, 19, 21, 43. They do see skin color. May of 2016 bloomed more than flowers. It buried Black bodies. May 30th, May 29th, May 28th, May 27th, and again. May 26th, May 24th, May 23rd, May 22nd, then again. May 20th, May 19th, May 18th, and on. May 16th, May 13th, May 11th, and again on. May 10th, May 9th, May 8th, May 7th, again. May 5th, May 4th, May 1st, killed.
Okay, so I want to ask, in creating this piece, did you actually comb through those statistics and use
Yes.
the exact dates and the exact names?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
What compelled you to do that?
Well, there was a story in the Washington Post, and it was talking about how many Black people were killed by police, and that there is a public record of them all. And I said, let me go see, if we are being killed every day, everywhere, just let me just see, really what's going on. And I would go to it like almost daily. I would read it. And I just kept seeing like names every single day all across this nation. The people, Black people and brown people, have been killed by police every day. In May happens to be the first month that I saw that almost every single day that month, a Black person was killed by the police.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because I just realized something. I've read the poem myself 2 or 3 times, and then I just listened to you read it. The title by itself is its own poem, May's Obituary in 2016. The thing that struck me when you were reading it is that May, like you say in the poem, is the time when flowers bloom. It's supposed to be that time when nature is awakening and unfolding and unfurling. May is supposed to be about rebirth. My birthday is in May, and I always say spring babies are the best, right? You mentioned my birthday in there, May 7th.
Right.
Everything's just like coming back into the warmth of the sun, and the seeds are starting to sprout, and some of the vegetables and herbs and things are just starting to peak above the soil. So here's the interesting thing. Damn it, if you kill May, then everything's going to die. You feel what I'm saying? That's why I say the title by itself is its own poem. If you kill spring, when everything is just budding and just unfurling, you're not going to have anything left.
Right. Because they said, May flowers.
Right.
We can do away with that, because indeed there are no Mayflowers anymore. There was just death in May. There was death, and death has been revisiting us ever since. Not got back to the blooming or the flowering of anything. It just go on and on. And it was just so sad when I would read these names, and I would read their ages, and it was just like it's not that I couldn't believe that it was happening, but just to sit there and to like concentrate on this 1 month in this list of names that just kept coming up. And I will be like, well, maybe one day we were free. Maybe one day we were free. It was like the day off from killing Black people. And even when I went to like other months, just to check other months, it was like it was never a day from not killing Black people. That's not a holiday. It was a terrible thing to keep going back to, but I had to, because I felt that there was something in there that I needed to get. And it took me, a couple of weeks of going through the names to figure out, okay, I'm going to do this in a poem. This is what I'm going to do. Because these names, we just don't need to read them on a piece of paper. They need some sort of vengeance. They need to be out there to say, hey, look what you did to me. Look what you did to me. I was only 13 years old. Look what you did to me,
Do you, I've often asked myself this, do you feel like many of them are still talking to us in different ways? And perhaps that has something to do with compelling you to write the piece.
Oh, yeah.
All right, wait, this is not just me. I'm just saying, I was just trying to feel that out a little bit, because I'm like, it's not just me. Okay.
Oh, no, the dead is still talking to us. It's like, you have to have that ear to hear them, because they deserve to be heard. And they have a story that they want you to tell people. Yeah, so if you hear the dead, listen. Listen. It's that has to be told. Someone needs to tell their story.
It's interesting, because I think about that when I hear people say that mantra over and over again, say their names. And I think that is very important. But I think it's also important to listen to them. If all we're doing is saying their names, we're not hearing. If we're talking at the same time, like you said, we have to know how to listen, and there's no telling what kind of stories may be coming through, as well as what kind of guidance. What is it that they can see now that they are there that we cannot see here, that they may be trying to warn us about or teach us about? Because we talk about ancestors when it comes to one thing, but we forget that they join. You know what I mean? They join the multitude of the ancestors and have things to share with us as well. And I wanted to say thank you so much for following through and writing that piece,
Yes.
because I know that that could not have been easy, not easy at all.
No, it wasn't, because I remember at one time when I was writing it, when I was getting the ages down and then the dates, and then I just started crying.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just a realization, it's real. It was
Mhm.
it was just, you just can't help but cry, especially if you hear them. If you hear them asking you why. Ask those people why they did that to us.
So that's the thing that I meant in the blurb that I did for you. We're having this conversation, two sisters having this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have these conversations on a regular basis.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're going to go to the mall and sit at lunch at the mall with your girlfriend and talk to your girlfriend about the voice that I heard the other night from the
Mm-hmm.
little boy that was in the news. You know what I mean? We don't do that. And it's
Right.
interesting because people think that, women just talk about everything and talk all the time. But the thing that I love about your work is what I said in the blurb. You dare to talk about the things we don't talk about. You know what I mean? And that you said that when you were working on this piece, it moved you to tears. That's the perfect segue. I want to go to page 7 to In Our Room by Ourselves. Yeah. So we're looking at, in this poem, we're looking at some of the, oh Lord, some of the consequences of bearing that foot on your neck, what happens as a result of waking up every day with that foot on your neck. And I want to say to those who may be watching, first of all, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and put this poem into my curriculum for my ENC 1102 class, because we actually read the yellow wallpaper. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And to add this to it, oh my goodness, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. But, the idea of, for those who may be watching, Charlotte Perkins Gilman was a woman who wrote a story called The Yellow Wallpaper. And she talks about being suppressed and oppressed to the point of madness. The character is to the point of madness. But the woman who wrote the story also dealt with mental health issues and things like that, and was told, I remember reading, she was told that she did not need too much intellectual activity because that was not good for women, right? And she was a writer and she was an artist and all of these things, and she was told not to engage with that. That was a way of putting that foot on her neck, right? So one of the notes in the back of the book, for those of you in the audience, is in reference to that story. So would you read this piece for us, please?
I'll try.
You can do it.
Okay, now this one also starts off with an epigraph, and I found this epigraph after I had written the poem, and I thought that it really fit.
Mhm.
It's from a half-told tale of Black womanhood. However, in the process of keeping up the appearance of strength, Black women's bodies become repositories for the thoughts, feelings, and realities that contradict the one-dimensional view of them as unflaggingly capable and ever resilient. We cry. Monsoons erode our bodies like Earth's quake of mudslides. This physical nothingness trembles to cries echoes across continents and oceans. The gravel beneath our bare feet tremors. The ground opens, a sinkhole, a flush of soil, and we disappear. We are buried with mouths exposed. A waxen lid, the earth entombs our bodies. Our tears flood rivers, seal our eyes. Light is not required to see. Paths of stars, electric dream patterns, and we sleep as the earth constrains our bodies. The pressure snaps bones, tendons spring free, our skin explodes, and we are hurled in each direction. We are compost. Flung across the universe, our veins stretch the longitudes and latitudes of victories, yet we bleed from our eyes, our nose, our ears, soles of our feet, palms of our hands. We bleed out of our brains, our mouths stitched shut, our vaginas preserved as pickled yams, yet we sing. What space inside our room rejoices in chants? We are the earth's core, buried and torn apart, thrown as treasure in a scavenger hunt to be found. We wait to be found, and we wait. That's a heavy one.
You know, I'm not scared of silences. I think sometimes after a poem, you just need to be quiet for a minute. So I do need to make a correction. This was not the one that you referenced to the yellow wallpaper, is it?
Oh, that one is so overwhelming.
Right, the one that ends with the yellow paper.
Yes.
The one that still reminds me of the yellow wallpaper because you say in a room by ourselves.
Yes, yes, yes.
When she was locked in the room.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I
these
did
could be sister poems.
Right, they are sister poems. And I have to say, the thing that is so remarkable about this poem to me is that as you were reading it to me, it reminded me of being a much, much younger woman, right? And looking at older women back at that time who were probably then about my age now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time just kind of looking around and feeling like a lot of women that I saw were wilted. That was literally the word that came to my mind. And after all of these years, I still remember it, thinking to myself, wow, she looks like a wilted flower, like curled over and hung over, just like worn out and worn down, but still moving, you know,
Right.
but still just. And when a flower is wilted, it's not watered, it doesn't have fertilizer, it doesn't have, you know, the good soil and all of that. And I remember thinking to myself as a young woman, I was like, I'm not doing that, right? Like, because you know, you're young and you're stupid. There's so much stuff you don't know.
Yeah, true.
But it's like, now I get it. Now I get it. So I think about that when I listen to this poem. But the thing that is just so magical when you write about it is that you talk about this wilted, dying thing that becomes a seed in the earth. And from that seed, we're left with the hope that something is going to grow from it.
Right.
So you take this idea of the Black woman's body being raped and pillaged and abused in so many ways, but return to the earth where her body is loved and will be recreated to be born again. And that is just, to me, that's just divine magic. That's like hearing something different. You know, like you may do something to me, but you better believe there's going to be another one that's going to come along and she's going to be even stronger. You know, her roots are going to be even tighter. You know, her head is going to be even higher. And that is what you do for me in that poem. What happened to you when you wrote it? That's what happens when I read and when I hear it. What happened to you when you wrote it?
Well, it was a place where, you know, that surviving.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when my children were young, and you know, life wasn't easy. You know, of course I'd made wrong decisions, so you know, sleep in a hard bed, you know, but I have three daughters. And I just did what I can do my best to raise them. And I remember I was fired from a job like when my youngest one was probably like about 15. And my oldest daughter said, she kept saying, "What's wrong, Mom? You okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, And I had no idea where I was going to get the money to pay the mortgage, to pay food, for anything. I had no idea because I don't save money, So I was waiting on that 401k, but I didn't have anything. And so one day she just said, "Mom," she said, "I know that this must hurt you, because you don't have anything to fall back on." She said, "We have never seen you cry. And as long as we have been living, we have never seen you cry. Why can't you cry?" And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking like, well, I can't cry because you can't let your daughter see you. You can't let your daughter see the world get you like that because you're trying to make them stronger for when, they become adults so they can be strong. I mean, maybe I was incorrect in not showing them, crying or anything, but I couldn't do it. As a Black woman, one time I tried to cry. I mean, I was like broken. I tried to cry, girl, and the tear will not come out my eye. And I just start laughing. But there are times that, we're to that point where we can't even cry. Mm-hmm. And when I wrote this poem, I was to that point where I can't even cry. And I didn't know I couldn't even scream loud enough to let it all out, to see how I felt. And this is how I feel when I am that way. But, and still, I still can't cry. I mean, I'm sitting up there crying, like, let me cry. And maybe, I'll feel better. Let me cry. Cause I got no money. I'm looking in the mirror looking so stupid. I just say, forget it. I'm not even gonna cry. I just can't do it. So this poem right here, and plus the wall, when the walls close in, are the two poems of me crying. Those are my tears. So mm-hmm. it's just, as Black women, sometimes we can't cry because something inside of us won't let us. And what is that? What is it?
Well, on one hand, I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, don't worry about it, baby. I cried enough for both of us. So I probably cried your tears, my tears, and a few other women too at the same time. And my children have seen all of that. They've seen the cuss and the cry, right? So both versions. However, I still understand that feeling because we know if we do cry, it's not like somebody's going to grab you and hug you and pull you close and grab a Kleenex and dab your tears for you and say, baby, I got this. Let's do.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So after a while, you do feel like, I ain't got time to cry. I got to figure out how I'm going to buy groceries. Right? Mm-hmm. I don't have time to sit down and tell you how I'm feeling because you know what I mean? So I understand that as well.
Yeah.
But what magical tears. If this poem is your cry, what magical tears. Because like I said, it's about her being returned to the earth and coming back. We know in that poem that something fiercely beautiful and powerful is going to grow from that.
Right.
And from that core just, that one really, really got me. That's one of my favorites. All right, so I do want to go to another poem. Let's see what else is on my list. Being a single Black woman on a moonlit night when lightning rides thunder bareback. What the hell? Let me just read the title again. Being a single Black woman on a moonlit night when lightning rides thunder bareback. Now, Bonita, we can take this title all kinds of ways, right? Like, I'm like, okay. So before you even think about reading the title, I would just like to know, what does it mean when lightning rides thunder bareback? What does that mean? Like, if I'm a person reading poetry for the first time and I read that, I'm like, oh, Right, pour a drink right quick and go in a room by myself, right? It's like, what's going to happen here, right? So before I take that too far, go ahead on and tell us, what does that mean?
It's funny.
I mean, it might just be me. I'm just saying, I'm just being honest.
No, to me, I am lightning. I love lightning storms. I mean, I think they are the most powerful thing in the world is a good lightning storm. And lightning rides thunder bareback. That is some kind of sexual. It's a sexual thing. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I was feeling at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so you probably thought that, and that's yeah.
Okay, well then let me explain it for you then. I'll just go ahead on and take the mic right quick. We just had this amazing poem about such intense vulnerability, right?
Right.
In Black women with
Mhm.
regards to the things that we endure on a regular
Mhm.
basis. To me, this expression is sexual, but it's also very powerful,
Mhm.
right? Because lightning can start a fire
Ooh.
and fire can destroy, but fire can also purify.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if lightning is riding the thunder, there is a relationship between the two of them. That relationship can be just as sensual and sexual as it is spiritual.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's like all of that wrapped into one. And how amazing, after looking at the brokenness that was buried in the earth, we now see this war goddess in the fullness of her power.
Mhm.
So did I do that right?
Yeah, you did. You
Did
did.
I?
Yeah,
Okay. Read us
because
the poem.
yeah, we're not always all broken. You know, it's like we go through those phases, but we are also like powerful beings. You know, believe me, we know. You know, we know who we are. You know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, show us who we are, Bonita. Show us. Go ahead. I'm gonna sit back now, my cup of tea. Go ahead. If you can stop laughing and read the poem, it's beautiful to see you
But
smile.
I just wondered if people really got that part of the title because I didn't know. I mean, I know when I read it, that's what it was, but I didn't know if other people saw it like that, or they just thought it was some kind of metaphor for like, I don't know, something other than that. But I'm glad you got it.
Thank you.
I'll see if I can read it. The reading may not be as sexy as the title, but okay. Is all that is seen. Piano keys dance, click and clack, kick slides across empty palms, snap of heels on concrete stairs, ledge unsteady as hot winds hurries through a field, cane fields, flames chase, sweet douse of tears that stop crawling out lids, wet love potions, mixture of red clay, mother's land, soil that sleeps on forest floors, selected winds that surf tall field grass and hollers between cotton bars, drops of sun rays burnt through levees, scrapple of voodoo watchwords, drowns the battlegrounds, drawn in the silence of Black men. Deep red bone legit, ligaments disconnect, but interconnectivity to what ails lonely thighs. Tightly loosed and ready to jump, how wide? Rainbows toss sprinkles to douse her flames, speaks of Nefertiti and Sheba's Yoruba second cousin who spoke Igbo and dressed in mudcloth and carried a Nguni shield, but spoke Kosa. This black male smokescreen all over the place as her emotions. As she fidgets in her emptiness and thoughts of a man who may speak Igbo, Kosa, Black and English, and who holds his head high for the love of clean water and Black women, whose songs are wild hurricanes.
I'm not going to ask you what moved you to write that poem. Okay? I'm not going to ask you about that.
Okay.
But what I will say is there's a line in one of Bonita's poems in this book that says, if loving a Black man is a full stomach, then Black women are suffering from malnutrition. That particular line made me write a poem, okay?
Yeah.
So what I will say is that this particular poem that you just read is, oh wow, lush sustenance for our malnutrition. How about that right there?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It is lush sustenance for our malnutrition. Just like the idea of the battered, broken body being buried in the earth to be nurtured, to rise again, or to be rebirthed. And I see that happening in your book, where there's as much tragedy and death as there are things to celebrate in terms of rebirth and revival.
Right.
Right. And so I want people to know that even though there is a foot on my neck every morning, she still makes it very, very clear that there are things to celebrate and things that are beautiful. And she leaves us with this note of hope, you know, that some people forget about. And that's absolutely necessary. So, on this note of lush sustenance,
Yes.
and self-celebration, in spite of what the world tries to make us forget. You know, do you know where I'm going next? What poem I'm talking about next?
I'm scared. I wouldn't know.
Secret elegance of flight when we soar furious winds. Now see, Bonita, these damn titles, let's go to page 17. Page 17. All right. So, you know, what does it mean to soar furious winds? What does that mean?
That no matter how large a storm is, that always seems to be coming like toward our face, that we fly. We can still fly. You know, we still fly. You know, it's not going to hamper us in any way. You know, we're still like all that, even in with all the storm, we still like, you know, hey, what you got? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's like, and I really wrote this for like the younger generation.
Oh, I thought that was for me.
Well,
You mean to tell me the poem's not for me? Too? At least like me too, me and?
if you read it and it's for you, it's for you.
Okay, all right. I might have just shot myself in the foot. That's okay. But would you read it to us, please?
Okay. 'Cause we allowed to be fine like this. Eyelashes glued and flutter like wings of an albatross. Cool our bodies, we walk the walk in the 24/7 summer heat that is our blood. We walk in formation in sky blue, ripped, shredded, skinny jeans, and our titties pressed tight as nipples sing, 'cause we pretty and pretty sings. We are bad. This is what we got from the Sonia Sanchez, Carolyn Rogers, bad MF, truth saying sisters. That symbolic glitter of our magic that does not fall quietly to the ground. We sound more like hydrogen bombs, 'cause we loud and we pretty, and our eyelashes flutter like death's ashes blown in the wind. We hear and we are everywhere.
I don't care what you say. I don't have fake eyelashes and I don't have tight stuff across my titties or anything else, but that poem was written for me too. And it's written for a whole bunch of people that I know. And with you and all of this right here, you wrote it for you too. I don't care what you say. Okay? All right. All right. Right. And it's funny because when I first heard that piece, I felt like it was for so many women that feel like nobody's doing love poems for them, or
Right.
writing them love poems, or appreciating their beauty, whether they're 17, 27, or 57. I just felt like it was just showing, it was a self celebration
Yeah.
for all of us, including those who don't feel at all celebrated. So thank you for writing that one as well. What
Well,
else you
you
got to
know,
tell us?
you pretty like that, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What else you got to tell us?
Uh, well, the book is because I don't like people to be afraid to read books when they think that it's a Black woman talking about oppression.
Mm-hmm.
As you noted, that every poem is not, oh, woe is me, I'm just going to lay down and die, or, oh, I keep getting beat up every day. It's our survival. I mean, it's like, yes, we do what we do. That does come at us quite often. But do you see how we burst through all that stuff? How we just like bounce through it? We may not bounce easily, but we come back because we are who we are. It's just something in our inner self that will not allow anyone to keep us down, not even people from within our community, and those without our community. And this is like a universal thing for Black and brown women throughout the world. Because because no matter what our language is, seriously, we all have the exact same problems. I mean, I look at those Nollywood movies. I mean, I know they're just movies, okay?
I watch them too. I confess, I do. And I love them. I love them. Go ahead.
But I mean, they have the same problem with men that we have. But they may have a couple extra layers because of the tribal practices and stuff. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, we all got the same issues. So I'm not going to move to Africa to find no man because he won't have the same issues that somebody I know right down the street got. So it's like we are connected as women all over the world. Mm-hmm. That people who read this poem from any place, will be connected. And being a Black woman is a beautiful thing. I wouldn't want to be anything else. I mean, it's like, we see life in color. We dress in color. We love color. We smell good. We fight well. And we love just as hard. But all of this stuff is what we take up. All of this is us. We're just not a one-dimensional person. There's so many things that we are, and we do everything, to the best of what we can do. And it's like we celebrate our life. Like, yes, that Soaring and Furious Winds is a celebration of who we are. And a lot of people don't come by, I'm at the age where a lot of people don't say, oh, you pretty, if they even look at me, but we are still beautiful. And so, yeah, this is for everybody because girls, we are still beautiful. Even if you're like, I am 65 years old.
Stop it.
You're not going to lie about my age, please.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and I know women who were like 80 something and they are like, I'm like, oh, I gotta look like her when I get that age. I mean, we are beautiful people. And it's not only our physical that is beautiful, or the makeup we wear, or the hairstyles we have. It is us as Black women, what we believe in, what we share with one another. We have to start sharing more with each other. How we treat our children, treat people who are not our children, treat people who we meet. We are just a beautiful people, and we need to relish in that.
And how we treat ourselves.
Yes.
And I appreciated that in the book because your book reminded me to be more mindful about how I treat myself too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And I do want to echo what you said about the book relating to women all over the world, because I did take note of the first poem talking about women in East India, as well as women in West Africa, in the Congo, and different things that women are struggling with, girls of color are struggling with globally around the world in terms of the freedom of their bodies and their wills and that type of thing. And that is how Bonita actually opens the book. So you make that very, very clear. Thank you for your
Oh,
courage. Thank you for your beauty. Thank you for your example. Thank you for listening to those other voices and translating them so that we might better hear.
thank you. You're welcome. I mean, a poet, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Absolutely.
it's our responsibility to do that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to wrap this up, even though I wish I could take you to dinner or something afterwards. Maybe
I
we'll find a
know.
way to make that happen one of these days. Thank you so much for being our very special guest on Breakdown the Poet and the Poems. And folks, again, this is poet Bonita Lee Penn. There will be information in the description where you can find out more about her, as well as where to get the book and find out more about what she is doing. And thank you for joining us for Breakdown. If you like what you saw, subscribe, comment, like, share, show the poet and the poems some love. And remember that a poem just might lift you up. It might give you some direction, help you go another further. And sometimes a poem just might save your life.
Right, right.
Thank you, Bonita.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you.